Welcome back to What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur. I'm Vincent Lanci, speaker and author of the book Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption. Want to know what it's really like to be an entrepreneur? Well, you came to the right place. Whether you're already an entrepreneur, are looking to start your journey tomorrow, or just someone who needs a little extra motivation to get through the day, this is the perfect podcast for you. This is the place where you will learn exactly what it's like in the world of entrepreneurship and hear authentic stories of entrepreneurs grinding on each episode. My goal for this podcast is to help you realize that giving up is never an option. If you missed the last episode, be sure to download it after you tune in today. Before I introduce my guest, I'll share another entrepreneurial story to inspire you all, and I found this one over on Forbes about Dominique Rayhard Brooks. I chose this article because as I have a model on the show today, I wanted to introduce the story of another model turned entrepreneur. Dominique is a former America's Next Top Model contestant and is now the co-owner of the country's oldest Black-owned business and moving company, E.E. Ward. As far as her entrepreneurial endeavors, she has started this clothing line called 1881 Apparel back in 2018. I found the article interesting because it talked about the relationship she shared with her mother and some of the valuable lessons that she taught her. The first of the 3 lessons from her mother was to do the hard work. She said, "One of the things my mother always taught me was that if you see something that needs to be done, do it. Always roll up your sleeves and be ready to work." As a model and performer, she said she embodied that work ethic by frequently traveling, pursuing opportunities as they came up, and working long days on jobs, even after having 2 children. The second lesson was to be a leader. And today, in addition to that entrepreneurial journey, she leads and manages a 50-person team over at E.E. Ward. The third lesson, which I think is just as important, was to be flexible. Entrepreneurs listening out there, you need to be able to pivot to different situations and scenarios as your industry changes. Dominique did switch from one industry to another to start the next chapter of her professional life, and she carries her mother's advice with her every day. Hey, Alexa, what'd you like best about that story?
Well, I can absolutely relate to that story in many ways, seeing that I'm a model as well. And it's so interesting to me that she is starting her own clothing line, because that's exactly what I want to do as well. And I think that's amazing. Another person in my life that is super influential is my father. He always told me the same exact thing and said, do the hard work. And if you don't do the hard work, nothing's going to get done. So I really, really appreciate that article.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. And that voice you all just heard, that's the sound of today's guest. My friend on the show today is someone I met through one of my longtime friends at University of Tampa, Tommy. She's a model and does so much more down in South Florida. I had to have her on the show to add that perspective to the show, as she is the first model we have on here. So allow me to please introduce Alexa Collins. Alexa, thank you for coming on my show.
Of course, and thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Would you mind please introducing yourself to our listeners and previewing your story without giving just too much away of that entrepreneurial journey?
Sure. So my name is Alexa Collins. I live here in South Florida. I'm a model, influencer, currently a designer, much more a dog mom. There are many different things that I do, but mainly modeling and social media. And I started when I was 16, and here I am.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to learn this journey, and it's time for the Big Five. On each episode, my guest and I will go over these 5 questions to help you, the listeners, learn what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
Great. So when did you realize that you either weren't happy with what you were doing or you just needed some kind of change to truly start this entrepreneurial journey?
So I actually realized when I was in school in Orlando, I graduated high school, and then I went to Orlando to go to college there, and it just wasn't for me. And I decided that I could use social media as a platform to start something, which I did. And I started modeling when I was 16, here and there. But then when I went to Orlando for school, I realized that I wanted to get more into it. Couldn't do school and modeling at the same time. So I kind of got a little bit off focus in school. Sorry to say that, guys. But it was totally worth it. And I took that risk. My family was not happy about it at all. But I started traveling, and work started picking up for me. And so in the social media world, it's not easy to gain a following. But if you're persistent at it, you never know what can happen. So that's why I decided that I wanted to start a business out of it.
I love it. Where was that first modeling gig? Walk us through our listeners.
Oh my gosh. I was in Miami. First modeling gig was in Miami. I was 16. I was so little. Had no idea what I was doing. I was such a little nerd. But yeah, it was great. That's when I realized that I loved being behind a camera. It's awesome.
What kind of gig was it? What was
It
it
was
for?
it was for Ford models. It was a test photo shoot for just their book and everything, and just opened my eyes to a whole other world. And you know, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, and I want to take you back to where you said when you first started this following on social media. I know how difficult it is because I have to do it as well. But for the other people in your shoes that are listening on, which platform have you found the most success with? How have you leveraged it?
Definitely Instagram. I've been working at it for about 5 years now. I have like a serious set schedule with everything that I do on there. And the more people that follow you, the more people that kind of follow along with that schedule. So like, for example, I post things on there 9 a.m. and then 2 p.m. every day. And, the more people that, catch on to it, look forward to those things. Instagram has been great. I haven't really used any other social media platforms just because I've had success with that.
Yeah,
But I would like to start trying out different ones as well.
absolutely. Well, now that you've been doing this for a while now, what would you say one or two of the most difficult parts of being an entrepreneur are for you?
I would say setting a schedule. Since I don't have a 9 to 5 job, I wake up whenever I want, and it's difficult to wake up in the morning and say, you know what, you need to get this done and this one and this done, because I could easily just sit on the couch and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
um, but no, it's really important to set a schedule. It is tough. But since I'm not on, like I said, a 9 to 5, it's definitely a struggle.
And no, the feeling every day I have to find different ways to motivate me. Once you find the work that you love, so I can relate to you, I kind of put
Yeah,
that in my brain and keep it moving forward.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
tough.
What would you say the second one is for you?
I would
Difficult.
say the second one is not having a consistent income, not having a salary, not something that, I don't get paid, a specific amount at the end of the year. I just kind of work, and whatever comes at me comes at me. And I think that that's tough. Not having that ease of mind, knowing exactly what I will be making that year, because I do work with hundreds of different companies. Sometimes they come in, sometimes they come out. So that's the tough part about it.
Yeah, I can understand that. You never really know when your next paycheck's coming, but you believe in yourself, so
Exactly.
you know
Yes.
it's going to be happening. Is most of your work that you're doing in Florida, or walk our listeners through your journey?
Yeah, most of it's in Florida. A lot of it is in the Miami area, South Florida. I've done a lot of traveling previously, and obviously I've gotten to go to really cool places all over the world. One of the coolest ones being Croatia. Such an experience. I've met amazing people. But yeah, mostly South Florida. I've done some work in LA. But yeah, it's pretty consistent here, so it's easy enough for me.
And it's amazing to be in Miami. But when you think
Yeah.
back on your entrepreneurial journey, what would you say one of your greatest failures or lessons learned is, and what did it teach you? Maybe it wasn't business related, but why has it stuck with you till today?
Something really that it stuck with me was when I started modeling. I was seeking a lot of modeling agencies, and I was looking for like a manager to represent me, and I was looking for, someone to really push me. But the hard part about being with agencies is they have, thousands and thousands of girls on their list. So it's hard when, you go into this agency. I really say, I really believe in this. I really want to do this. I'm ready for the work, but they don't really focus on you. I'd say the hardest part was trying to get someone to focus just on me. So that's when I kind of took over and just decided to do it on my own. No one's going to put in the work for you. You have to do it yourself. And that's what I decided to do. And now I currently don't work with any modeling agencies right now. So.
Yeah, well, see, I like the way you shared that story because you saw the light in the dark situation. People are saying no, and they're not giving you the attention you know you need, and you just said, I'm just going to do it myself.
Exactly. I just marketed myself through Instagram, and it kind of
Yeah.
worked out that way. Yeah.
But if you could choose to have a conversation and learn from any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who would it be?
Okay, I know this sounds kind of crazy. Maybe, I don't know, but
Let's
I would
hear it.
say my whole entire life I've looked up to one person, and that is because she is an artist. She's a designer. She's a musician. She's a wife. She's a mom. That's Gwen Stefani. I look up to her in a lot of ways. She's just she does so many different things and still manages to be an awesome mom and wife and designer. It's just so crazy to me. She started, off with her small little band, and then she got out into the music industry, and that led her on to different things, which is kind of what I'm looking to do right now as well. And she was able to come up with a clothing brand as well, and it was awesome. People loved it. I think she's an amazing, amazing person.
You mentioned you were looking to get in designing. You're starting to move on to something else, designing. What are you working on?
Yeah, right now I'm working with a local brand here in Fort Lauderdale. Their name is Poema Swim, and I'm doing like a little bit of a capsule collection with them. And I've been able to go in and design my own pieces with them. It's been really, really cool to put together the designs and the patterns. So we're working on that right now. The release is supposed to be in the next few months. This virus obviously hasn't given us the best timing here, but we've been working on that for a few months now, and we cannot wait for the release. It's been great.
Absolutely, because I wanted to ask that in the preview to this last question here. Let's look into the future with everybody listening on. Where do you see yourself in all of these entrepreneurial endeavors in 1 year and 5 years? We'll start at 1 year.
1 year, I see myself just progressing in social media, getting, higher and higher, more following, maybe getting onto another social media platform to kind of put myself out there in a different way. I see this new TikTok thing.
I've been kind of scared by it myself to learn a whole new one.
I know it's been tough to kind of accept it, but I'm thinking, maybe people will learn more about me on there, rather Instagram's more of like photos. So I see myself doing another social media platform, maybe possibly building a brand. So we'll see, maybe.
What would that brand be? Would it be something in design?
Something in design, yeah, possibly swimwear, possibly clothing. Haven't quite decided on that yet, but that's definitely the goal.
Which way you're leaning?
Probably swimwear. I mean, I'm in Florida. It's the most beautiful place, and that's all I wear anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's look at 5 years now. What are you thinking?
5 years. Goodness, crazy to think about that. 5 years from now, see myself doing the same thing at a higher level. By then, who knows what's going to happen in my life. Hopefully, I'm married, maybe starting a family, so maybe transitioning into kind of more of like a blogger at that point. Nothing lasts forever. And I'm going to push at what I do now as much as I can. But as soon as I start to get older, I see myself kind of branching out into different things like blogging, lifestyle. So that's kind of the plan.
Have you been involved in any of that stuff yet? Any blogging?
No blogging yet. No. Not really.
Absolutely. That's great to hear that you're trying to expand your brand, expand your vision. I think the listeners are going to take out of this that you worked hard to build it up. You didn't just say it happened yesterday. You said 5 years already. You've been working on it. And I think the misconception of people is they get upset they consider a failure if it doesn't work in 30 days or a month. Then that was a great persistence.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just all about persistence. And for anyone who's, looking to do the same thing, it takes time. I promise you it will happen. But it took me a long time to build up social media and a presence on there. But once you realize that people want to start hearing your voice and they're inspired by you, it makes you feel good and it pushes you to do more.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Alexa, for coming on. I know our listeners are going to see all the value in your episode today. I love how you took us back to your kid and you weren't afraid to leave school to follow your dreams. You didn't care. You still did it. And you also spoke about your failure, how like I said before, you saw the light in a situation that wasn't what you wanted and you transitioned it and pivoted, which is so important in entrepreneurship, to pivot into something amazing. But it's time for the last word. Is there something that you want to share with everybody listening on that we did not get to touch on yet today?
I would say, we kind of touched on it, but I would say once again, have persistence, have patience, keep working at what you're doing. You will get there in time, and have a positive attitude. That's super important to me. Always being positive. Negative mindset will get you nowhere.
Yeah, positivity is also contagious, which is the best part about it. But would you mind please sharing your social media, website, or ways for our listeners to follow you?
Absolutely. You can follow me on social media on Instagram at Alexa Collins. And that's the platform that I use the most. So you guys just go follow me on there.
Absolutely. Well, be sure to check her out on Instagram and follow the show on Instagram and Facebook at Your Favorite Morning Podcast and on Twitter at Podcast by Lanci. My handles are at Vincent A. Lanci on all social media and YouTube, and my website is vincentalanci.com. Be sure to check out my book, Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption, on Amazon now, but DM me or email me. I want to hear what you think. If you enjoyed today's episode, please continue listening and rate what it's really like to be an entrepreneur 5 stars. I work hard to find value delivering stories for you on each episode. As always, I will end the show with a quote that inspired me, and it will for you too. And this one is Sarah Blakely, CEO of Spanx. She said, "Don't be intimidated by what you don't know. That can be your greatest strength and ensure that you do things differently from everybody else." Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all on the next episode of What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur.